Welcome back, everyone, to another remarkable journey into the hidden stories of gemstones, the kind of truths you won't find in glossy jewelry catalogs or auction headlines. Tonight, we're stepping into a forgotten marketplace, thousands of years before coins or paper money existed, when gems themselves were currency. Among the 10 stones we'll uncover, one stands at number one, a gem so prized that its value today would outshine even the most coveted treasures. Caravans once carried it across deserts and empires, and its price was measured not in coins but in kingdoms. Ignore this story, and you risk misunderstanding how real value was built in the ancient world. Don't skip this video if you don't want to fall into the same mistake many investors make, confusing rarity with true worth. In the next few minutes, we'll trace stones used as money, red beads that bought livestock, blue crystals that secured alliances, and even organic treasures from the sea that traded for gold. Each reveals how humans defined wealth long before modern financial markets emerged. And trust me, what you'll discover here may change the way you look at gemstones forever. Suppose this is your first time joining us. Welcome to Gemstone Kingdom. Here we explore the untold stories of gems, where archaeology, history, and value collide. Be sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of our journey. Because tonight's countdown isn't just about stones, it's about secrets buried in trade, temples, and time itself. And one of them, the final one, could rewrite everything you thought you knew about wealth. Rank 10, quartz crystals, the common currency of ancient markets. When we think of currency in the ancient world, most of us imagine gold, silver, or copper coins. Yet long before coins became the universal medium of trade, specific communities turned to something far more accessible and mysterious: quartz crystals. Across continents, from South America to sub-Saharan Africa, these clear or milky stones circulated not only as decorative objects, but as units of exchange in local markets. To archaeologists, this challenges our fundamental understanding of what money looked like thousands of years ago. Geographically, quartz is one of the most widespread minerals on Earth. Large deposits occur in the Andes, in regions of present-day Brazil and Peru, as well as across Africa, from Ethiopia to southern Africa. Archaeological excavations have revealed caches of quartz crystals deliberately stored in caves or ritual sites, suggesting that these stones carried more than just ornamental value. They moved between villages and trade networks, sometimes exchanging goods like beads, sometimes valuing them as much as food or tools. The methods of extraction in antiquity were surprisingly rudimentary yet effective. People gathered quartz from riverbeds, where erosion naturally freed crystals from surrounding rock. Others chipped them from veins in mountainsides using stone hammers. Unlike diamonds or emeralds, quartz required no advanced tools to acquire, which made it both accessible and abundant. And yet, precisely because of that accessibility, quartz became a perfect candidate for use as a community-wide medium of trade. In terms of appearance, quartz crystals can vary dramatically. Clear quartz, often referred to as rock crystal, is transparent and resembles glass in its clarity. Milky quartz appears opaque white, while rose quartz displays a gentle pink hue. In ancient markets, crystals were sometimes traded whole, their natural hexagonal prisms intact. In other cases, artisans polished them into beads or pendants, easy to carry and string together. To wear a piece of quartz jewelry was not only to adorn oneself, but also to hold portable wealth, a concept strikingly close to carrying coins or ingots. What would such stones be worth if crafted into jewelry today? Clear quartz pendants might sell for only a few dollars, while fine rose quartz carvings or polished spheres can reach hundreds. But the real value lies in context. In ancient times, quartz crystals served as a substitute for money itself. They could be traded for livestock, grain, or even other gemstones. That symbolic role elevates their historical importance far beyond their modern price. Why did people trust quartz as currency? Part of the answer lies in perception. Quartz was durable, difficult to fake, and had a certain transparency that felt pure. In ritual contexts, shamans and priests also associated quartz with light, energy, and the divine. That spiritual resonance gave it credibility, ensuring communities would accept it in trade. In this way, quartz blurred the line between currency and sacred object, making every transaction a reflection of both economy and belief. And here's where it gets interesting for us as modern viewers. Quartz may seem too familiar to have mattered, but in pre-coinage societies, it carried a weight equal to that of money. If you find that surprising, please let me know in the comments. Would you ever have imagined something as ordinary as quartz functioning like currency? Because here's the closing thought. As we look ahead, markets still chase rarity, from diamonds to colored gems. But history reminds us that common stones can also define value when societies agree on their meaning. So let me ask you, by 2026, which gemstone do you think could rise to challenge even diamonds in cultural importance? Share your ideas. We'll explore that together in the next chapter. Rank 9. Mediterranean Coral. The red treasure traded as ancient currency. When you picture gemstones used as currency in the ancient world, your mind might leap to glittering crystals or carved beads. Yet one of the most surprising items traded like money was not a mineral, but an organic one: Mediterranean red coral. For centuries, fishermen, traders, and priests alike have treated coral as both a precious ornament and a form of currency, fueling trade routes that stretch from Italy and Greece to Egypt, India, and even China. Geographically, the richest deposits of red coral lie beneath the Mediterranean Sea, especially along the coasts of Italy, Sardinia, and Tunisia. Harvesting coral in antiquity was far from simple. Divers descended into shallow waters with weighted stones or crude baskets, pulling living coral branches from the seabed. It was a dangerous task, requiring skill and courage, which immediately elevated coral's status as a rare and valuable commodity. In appearance, Mediterranean coral is distinct. Its natural hue ranges from deep crimson to soft orange, often branching in intricate patterns resembling miniature trees. When polished, coral reveals a smooth, glossy surface, ideal for carving into beads, amulets, and inlays. Unlike fragile shells, coral was dense and durable, which made it both attractive as jewelry and practical as a unit of trade. A single strand of coral beads could represent considerable value in markets from Carthage to Alexandria. As a medium of exchange, coral's role was remarkable. Historical records from the Roman Empire describe the trade of coral for ivory, spices, and even enslaved people. Along the Silk Road, Mediterranean coral was highly sought after by Indian and Chinese merchants, who considered it auspicious and protective. In temples across Tibet, coral beads were strung into a prayer mala, serving both spiritual and economic functions. The fact that coral could be used interchangeably as both ornament and currency highlights how deeply it was embedded in cultural and financial systems. If shaped into jewelry today, Mediterranean coral retains strong market appeal. A polished branch mounted in silver may cost a few $100s, while antique coral necklaces can command thousands at auction. But in the ancient world, coral's worth was defined not by modern price tags, but by the distances it traveled. From the harbors of the Mediterranean to the bazaars of Central Asia, coral was recognized as a token of wealth, beauty, and trust. The reason coral succeeded as a currency was twofold. First, it was portable and recognizable. A strand of coral beads could be easily weighed, counted, and divided, qualities essential for trade. Second, it carried symbolic meaning. In Greek and Roman mythology, coral was believed to have sprung from the blood of Medusa, endowing it with protective power. In Asia, coral represented vitality and longevity. These layers of belief ensured that coral was more than just decoration. It was a trusted value. Now here's the unexpected twist. While we often think of gemstones as eternal, coral is living. Its use as currency raises profound questions about how societies valued not only the rare, but the fragile. If you find that surprising, let me know in the comments. Would you have ever imagined living coral functioning like coins in ancient trade? And here's something to consider. As global markets evolve, we continue to debate what holds value. So tell me, by 2026, which material do you think could redefine wealth in a way that challenges even diamonds? Your thoughts could be the start of our subsequent discussion. Rank 8. Agate, the striped stone that fueled trade in the Indus and Egypt. When we trace the roots of ancient trade, Specific stones reveal themselves not only as ornaments, but as carriers of value. Among them stands agate, a gemstone of striking bands and vivid colors that once circulated like currency across the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. Archaeologists today uncover evidence of agate beads and seals in burial sites and marketplaces, pointing to a time when these stones were as reliable as coins. Geographically, agate deposits are widespread, but the most prized in antiquity came from regions of western India, particularly Gujarat, where riverbeds yielded banded nodules of chalcedony. These stones were carried across trade routes to Mesopotamia and eventually Egypt, becoming part of one of the earliest interconnected economies. Excavations at Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, cities of the Indus Valley civilization, have uncovered workshops where artisans skillfully cut, drilled, and polished agate into beads that later served both as adornments and for exchange. Extraction was simple yet labor-intensive. Raw agate was collected from dry riverbeds or shallow mines, often in rounded nodules that required splitting with hammerstones. Ancient lapidaries heated agate to bring out deeper reds and browns, then polished it with sand and leather. Each bead represented hours of skilled labor, which meant that agate naturally acquired value, not just as a material, but as a record of craftsmanship. In appearance, agate is unmistakable. Bands of red, brown, white, and gray form natural concentric patterns that seem almost painted. Small nodules were drilled into tiny beads, while larger pieces were sliced into seals or amulets. In markets, strings of agate beads circulated as units of trade, their weight and number determining their value. For wealthier clients, carved agate seals served as both identifiers and portable assets, symbols of authority with intrinsic worth. If made into jewelry today, agate is still affordable compared to rarer gems. A simple polished cabochon might sell for under $20, while antique Indus Valley beads command hundreds or even thousands at auction. However, in the context of ancient economies, agate functioned more like a form of coinage. Its portability, durability, and recognizable patterns gave it legitimacy as a standard of value, trusted from one market to another. The cultural role of agate deepened its acceptance. In Mesopotamia, agate seals were thought to carry protective powers. In Egypt, beads made of red and brown agate were buried with the dead to safeguard their souls in the afterlife. These spiritual associations meant that agate held both economic and symbolic value, reinforcing its role in daily transactions. For archaeologists, the story of agate demonstrates that early societies defined wealth not only by rarity, but by shared trust in recognizable materials. Agate's durability, beauty, and wide distribution made it an ideal medium for exchange, ensuring that a farmer in the Indus Valley and a merchant in Mesopotamia could readily understand its value. Now here's where I'd like to involve you. Imagine walking through an ancient market 4,000 years ago with strings of agate beads hanging beside baskets of grain, copper tools, and woven cloth. Would you accept a strand of beads as payment for your goods? If this idea surprises you, please let me know in the comments. Does it alter your perspective on what money truly represents? And one last thought to spark discussion. If ancient civilizations could agree on agate as a currency, what gemstone today could play a similar role in reshaping our understanding of value? By 2026, could another stone rise to challenge even the diamond's dominance? Let's debate it. Rank 7, shell beads and mother of pearl. Ocean currency of ancient civilizations. When we discuss gemstones traded as currency in the ancient world, most people envision dazzling crystals or rare minerals. But here's the twist. One of the earliest and most reliable forms of exchange was not a gemstone carved from rock, but treasures pulled from the sea, shell beads and mother of pearl. Across Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley, these iridescent materials once circulated like money, proof that value was as much about recognition and trust as it was about rarity. Geographically, the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, and the coastal regions of present-day Pakistan and Oman were significant sources of shells. Excavations at Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, the great cities of the Indus Valley civilization, reveal workshops where artisans drilled and polished shells into uniform beads. In Mesopotamia, traders brought shell products upriver into markets of Sumer and Akkad, linking inland economies with coastal resources. This exchange demonstrates one of the earliest examples of long-distance trade bridging land and sea. The process of extraction and crafting was laborious. Fishermen collected shells from tidal zones or by diving in shallow waters. Not every shell was suitable. Only those with strong nacre, the iridescent inner layer, were chosen. Artisans cut and shaped them into discs or cylindrical beads, then drilled holes using copper tools and fine abrasives. Strings of such beads became standardized objects of trade, their uniformity making them easy to count, measure, and accept as a form of value. In appearance, shell beads were far from ordinary. Mother of pearl reflected shimmering hues of white, pink, and silver, catching light in ways no mineral stone could. Their smooth surfaces and luminous glow made them prized for both jewelry and currency. A strand of beads worn around the neck was not only an ornament, but also portable wealth, just as coins would be centuries later. In terms of value, shell beads occupied a unique place. They were accessible enough to circulate widely, yet rare enough in inland regions to be worth trading for grain, livestock, or metal. For elites, larger mother-of-pearl inlays adorned furniture and ceremonial items, further integrating these materials into both economic and cultural systems. Today, simple shell jewelry may be inexpensive, often costing under $50. But in the ancient world, these same objects represented networks of trade that stretched hundreds of miles. Culturally, the symbolism of shells reinforced their role as a form of currency. In Mesopotamian temples, shell inlays were used in mosaics that decorated sacred spaces. In the Indus Valley, shell bangles and beads were buried with the dead, signifying both wealth and protection in the afterlife. The luminous quality of mother of pearl gave it associations with the moon and water, symbols of renewal and continuity that made people trust its worth. For archaeologists, the prevalence of shell beads in excavations across multiple regions highlights their role as one of humanity's first standardized currencies. Before gold coins or silver bars, there were strings of polished shells passed hand to hand, linking farmers, merchants, and priests in a shared understanding of value. And here's a thought to bring you in. Does it surprise you that some of the world's earliest money came not from mines but from the ocean? If this shifts your perspective, let me know in the comments. Would you have trusted a strand of shell beads as payment in a bustling market thousands of years ago? To conclude, consider this. Ancient societies used shells as currency because they were beautiful, portable, and symbolic. By 2026, which gemstone, or perhaps even an unexpected material, do you think could redefine wealth in ways that challenge even diamonds? Let's start that conversation. Rank 6. Obsidian, the volcanic glass that powered ancient trade networks. When we talk about gemstones functioning as currency in the ancient world, few carried as much practical and symbolic weight as obsidian, the volcanic glass born from fire. For early civilizations in Mesoamerica and Anatolia, obsidian was not only a material of beauty, but of necessity. It cut, carved, and killed. And because of that, it circulated like money, forming the backbone of trade networks that stretched for hundreds of miles. Geographically, obsidian occurs wherever volcanoes once erupted. In Anatolia, sources such as Cappadocia supplied obsidian to Neolithic communities as early as 7000 BCE. In the Americas, significant deposits in central Mexico, specifically in Pachuca, Otumba, and Ucareo, fueled entire economies. Archaeologists have traced obsidian artifacts from these regions to sites as far away as Guatemala, Belize, and even coastal Peru, proving that volcanic glass was one of the most widely traded currencies of its time. Extraction was labor-intensive but highly organized. Communities chipped blocks of obsidian directly from volcanic flows or quarries, then transported rough nodules back to workshops. There, skilled artisans shaped them into blades, arrowheads, or standardized cores that could be easily retraded. These cores functioned like proto-coins, portable, recognizable, and divisible into sharp flakes on demand. In terms of appearance, obsidian is a striking material. Jet black is the most common, but varieties include mahogany red streaks, translucent gray, and even rare rainbow obsidian with iridescent sheens. Polished obsidian reflects light like a mirror, while fractured surfaces gleam razor-sharp. In markets, blocks of obsidian or bundles of finished blades circulated like units of exchange, prized not just for their look, but for their life and death utility. Valuation in antiquity was influenced by two key factors: scarcity and utility. A high-quality obsidian blade was sharper than bronze, making it indispensable for hunting, ritual sacrifice, and daily work. In Mesoamerican markets, obsidian knives could be traded for food, textiles, or livestock. Archaeological evidence even suggests that tribute payments in obsidian were demanded by states like Teotihuacan, linking the stone directly to political power. Today, obsidian jewelry, such as pendants, spheres, and carved figures, may sell for anywhere from $20 to several $100s. Yet in ancient terms, the worth of obsidian cannot be reduced to price. It was survival, and survival always had value. The cultural and spiritual dimensions of obsidian deepened its role. The Aztecs believed obsidian was tied to Tezcatlipoca, the god of night and sorcery. Obsidian mirrors were used for divination, as they linked the material to the unseen. In Anatolia, polished obsidian blades were placed in burials, suggesting that they were believed to possess protective powers in the afterlife. These beliefs ensured that obsidian was not only a practical currency, but also a sacred one, trusted across societies. For archaeologists, the story of obsidian reveals that money is never just about metal or paper. It's about what people agree to value. Volcanic glass, fragile yet sharp, became one of humanity's earliest multi-purpose currencies, flowing along networks that predated coins by thousands of years. Now here's where I'd like to bring you in. Imagine standing in a bustling Mesoamerican marketplace with obsidian knives traded as casually as coins in your pocket. Would you have trusted such a dangerous object as your unit of wealth? If this thought surprises you, let me know in the comments, because how societies define value may be far stranger than we assume. And here's the closing question. By 2026, if technology and culture continue to shift, do you think another natural material, perhaps even something common today, could redefine wealth in ways that rival diamonds? Let's discuss it. Rank 5. Jade, the sacred stone, traded as currency in China and Mesoamerica. When we think of jade today, most people picture finely carved ornaments in museum cases or high-value jewelry on the auction block. However, thousands of years ago, jade was more than just decoration. It was wealth, power, and currency all rolled into one. From ancient China to Mesoamerica, jade functioned as a unit of value in markets, temples, and courts. Its circulation tells us that money was never only about metal. It was about meaning. Geographically, jade is available in two primary forms: nephrite and jadeite. In ancient China, nephrite deposits from regions such as Khotan and along the Yellow River were used by artisans as early as the Neolithic period. In Central America, especially among the Olmec and Maya, jadeite from the Motagua Valley in Guatemala was the stone of choice. Each region treated jade not simply as an ornament, but as a material of exchange, bridging economies across vast distances. The extraction of jade was grueling. Blocks had to be pried from riverbeds or quarried from hard rock using stone tools and abrasives, sometimes requiring weeks to free a single boulder. Artisans then labored to polish and shape jade into ritual axes, beads, or tablets. These objects often became standardized, serving as recognizable units of value in trade networks. The effort invested in each piece gave jade an intrinsic worth that communities trusted. Visually, jade is mesmerizing. Chinese nephrite often appears creamy white, light green or brown, while Guatemalan jadeite glows in deep greens, blues, and even lavender. Carved into beads or plaques, jade radiated a translucence that seemed alive, a quality that made it instantly identifiable in any marketplace. To wear jade was not just a fashion statement, it was a visible sign of wealth, portable and tradable like currency. In economic terms, jade objects could be exchanged for food, textiles, or even political alliances. In ancient China, strings of jade beads and ceremonial discs functioned as both tribute and payment, circulating like proto-currency in elite circles. In Mesoamerica, jade axes and beads traveled hundreds of miles through trade routes, their value consistent across cultures. Today, jade jewelry can range from under $100 to millions for imperial quality pieces, but in antiquity, jade's value was rooted in trust, labor, and symbolism. Culturally, jade's significance was immense. In China, it symbolized purity, immortality, and authority. Confucius himself described jade as embodying virtue. Burial sites often reveal jade placed on the body, ensuring protection in the afterlife. In Mesoamerica, jade was associated with maize, fertility, and rulership. Maya kings wore jade regalia as emblems of divine authority. Because jade carried such profound spiritual meaning, its role as currency was never purely economic. It was backed by a deep-seated belief. For archaeologists, jade proves that currency was never limited to the practical. Societies chose materials that spoke to their values. Jade was durable, rare, and spiritually powerful. This combination made it a perfect stone of trust, circulating across marketplaces and palaces long before coins or paper money appeared. Now let's bring you into the story. Imagine standing in a Maya marketplace where a polished jade bead could buy food, tools, or passage, while also serving as a charm against illness. Would you accept jade as a form of currency in such a society? If this perspective surprises you, let me know in the comments, because it challenges how we define currency itself. And here's a closing thought. Jade was once seen as more valuable than gold. Looking ahead, by 2026, could another gemstone take on a role that redefines wealth in the same way? Let's open that discussion. Rank 4. Amber, the golden resin that paid for trade across ancient Europe. When we trace the roots of early trade across Europe and the Mediterranean, one gemstone stands out as both mysterious and practical. Amber. Not a mineral, but fossilized tree resin, amber was so prized in antiquity that it traveled hundreds of miles along what archaeologists now call the Amber Road. In markets from the Baltic coast to Rome, amber circulated like currency, proof that wealth was defined not only by metal, but also by the warm glow of nature's preservation. Geographically, the richest sources of amber lie along the southern coast of the Baltic Sea, in regions of present-day Poland, Lithuania, and Russia's Kaliningrad. Coastal peoples collected amber washed ashore after storms, often gathering nodules the size of walnuts or larger. Archaeological evidence suggests that by 2000 BCE, these communities were trading amber southward into Central Europe, thereby linking distant societies long before the invention of formal coinage. Extraction in ancient times was relatively unpredictable, but straightforward. Most amber was collected from beaches after rough seas, though some was dug from shallow pits near forested swamps. Its scarcity, combined with the effort to find it, gave amber intrinsic value. Traders carried bags of polished nodules along caravan routes, where they could be exchanged for bronze tools, salt, or even livestock. In terms of appearance, amber is unlike any other gemstone. Its golden hues range from honey yellow to deep orange, and in rare cases, almost red. Transparent pieces often contain ancient inclusions, leaves, seeds, or even insects trapped for millions of years. These qualities fascinated ancient buyers, who saw amber as a window into both nature and time. Polished into beads or pendants, amber radiated warmth and light, making it an ideal choice for both ornamentation and currency. As a medium of exchange, amber gained extraordinary reach. In Mycenaean Greece and Etruscan Italy, amber beads appear in elite burials. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder noted that a small amber figurine could be worth more than a healthy enslaved person, illustrating its economic power. In markets from the Mediterranean to Egypt, traders accepted amber as readily as metal, recognizing its portability and distinctiveness. If crafted into jewelry today, Baltic amber pieces might sell for anywhere between $50 and $500, with rare fossil inclusions commanding much more. However, in antiquity, amber's value was enhanced by its scarcity in southern regions. For Mediterranean buyers, amber was exotic, mysterious, and foreign, qualities that made it valuable beyond its physical properties. The cultural significance of amber further reinforced its use as a form of currency. In Baltic communities, it was believed to protect against illness and misfortune. In Greece, it was linked to the tears of the sun god Helios, solidified into stone. Among the Romans, amber was thought to possess healing powers, ground into a powder for medicinal purposes. These beliefs made amber universally desirable, ensuring its acceptance in trade across widely different cultures. For archaeologists, the story of amber is a lesson in the far-reaching impact of early commerce. The Amber Road connected the cold shores of the Baltic with the warm markets of Rome, demonstrating that gemstones, whether mineral or organic, could unite civilizations through shared ideas of value. Now, I'd like to bring you into this conversation. Imagine walking into a Roman marketplace where a single amber pendant could be traded for an amphora of wine or a bolt of fine cloth. Would you have trusted resin, rather than metal, as a measure of wealth? If this surprises you, share your thoughts in the comments, because it raises a deeper question about what humans agree to call money. And here's a final thought. Amber once rivaled gold in value, precisely because it carried mystery and distance. By 2026, which gemstone, or unexpected material, do you think could redefine wealth in the same way? Let's discuss it. Rank 3. Turquoise, the blue gemstone, that circulated as currency in Egypt and Persia. When we think of gemstones that shaped ancient civilizations, turquoise stands among the most iconic. Revered for its sky blue color, it was more than mere ornament. It was currency, symbol, and spiritual safeguard. From the deserts of Sinai to the markets of Persia, turquoise circulated as a form of value, traded across borders long before minted coins were introduced. Geographically, some of the earliest and most famous turquoise mines lay in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, where extraction dates back over 5,000 years. The ancient Egyptians organized expeditions under royal control, sending workers and guards to dangerous desert cliffs. Blocks of turquoise were chipped from veins in sandstone using copper chisels, then carried back across arid landscapes to Nile markets. Meanwhile, in Persia, today's Iran, the Nishapur region became another legendary source. Persian turquoise, with its vivid robin's egg blue and minimal veining, was prized across Asia and Europe alike. The mining process was arduous. Workers descended into narrow shafts, lit only by oil lamps, and hammered stone by hand, carrying out ore in baskets. Each nodule of turquoise had to be carefully selected and polished to reveal its actual color. Because mining required state organization and immense labor, turquoise quickly gained status as a controlled and valuable commodity. In appearance, turquoise captivated the ancient world. Its hues range from pale blue to deep azure, sometimes veined with black or brown matrix. Polished into cabochons, beads or inlays, turquoise seemed to capture the very essence of the sky. To wear it was not just a matter of fashion, it was to carry heaven's blessing. And in the bustling markets of Memphis, Thebes, or Persepolis, strings of turquoise beads could be exchanged for gold, grain, or even land rights. Economically, turquoise served as a portable form of wealth. Egyptians placed it in royal tombs, ensuring it accompanied pharaohs into the afterlife. Traders used turquoise beads and pendants as standardized exchange items, small enough to carry yet universally recognizable in value. In Persia, turquoise was even used in state tributes, further solidifying its place in systems of power and economy. Today, a Persian turquoise ring may cost anywhere from a few $100s to thousands. But in antiquity, turquoise's worth went far beyond price tags. It represented both divine favor and worldly wealth. Culturally, turquoise carried enormous meaning. In Egypt, it was associated with Hathor, the goddess of love and protection, and was believed to shield wearers from harm. In Persia, it symbolized victory and authority, adorning daggers, crowns, and palace walls. These associations ensured that turquoise was not just a commodity, but a sacred currency, trusted in trade and revered in ritual. For archaeologists, turquoise reveals how trade and belief intertwined. Its presence in burial sites, temples, and distant markets demonstrates how communities across continents shared a common appreciation for its value. Unlike metals, which could be melted or forged, Turquoise held worth because it was both beautiful and enduring. Now let me turn this over to you. Imagine walking through a Persian bazaar 2,000 years ago, where turquoise beads glittered under the sun, exchanged for silk, spices, or horses. Would you have trusted such stones as your wealth? If this perspective surprises you, share your thoughts in the comments, because it shows us how value is always built on shared belief. And here's a final thought. Turquoise once defined wealth for empires that ruled deserts and rivers. By 2026, could another gemstone rise to play a similar role in shaping not only trade, but also identity? Let's open that discussion. Rank 2. Carnelian, the fiery stone. Used as currency in Mesopotamia and Egypt, when archaeologists unearth the great trade networks of the ancient world, one gemstone consistently appears with remarkable frequency: carnelian. This reddish-brown chalcedony was not just an ornament, but a medium of exchange, circulating as currency in the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and beyond. For thousands of years, carnelian beads told the story of wealth, belief, and global connectivity. Geographically, the finest sources of carnelian in antiquity were located in present-day India, particularly in the Gujarat region. Here, riverbeds and quarries yielded nodules of chalcedony that artisans transformed into gleaming red beads. From these workshops, carnelian spread along trade routes into Mesopotamia, where Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians treasured it. Archaeological finds at sites like Ur and Kish reveal thousands of carnelian beads, providing evidence of their economic and symbolic importance. Extraction and production required both natural resources and skilled labor. Raw carnelian nodules were collected from riverbeds, then heated in controlled fires to deepen their red-orange hues. Ancient lapidaries drilled holes using copper tools tipped with abrasives, a painstaking process that could take hours for a single bead. The labor invested meant that each carnelian bead embodied not just raw material, but human effort, giving it inherent value recognized across markets. Visually, carnelian's appeal is obvious. Its rich tones range from deep red to warm orange, sometimes translucent, sometimes opaque. When polished, it glows with an inner warmth that no paint or dye could replicate. In marketplaces, strands of carnelian beads shimmered under the sun, instantly recognizable and therefore ideal as standardized trade items. A single bead could be exchanged for grain or cloth, while elaborate strings were exchanged for livestock, metal, or even land rights. Economically, carnelian functioned like coinage. Its widespread recognition allowed merchants from different cultures to trust its value. In the Indus Valley, carnelian beads were traded in bulk, acting as small units of exchange. In Mesopotamia, they often appeared in tribute lists and temple offerings, serving both economic and religious functions. Today, a carnelian necklace may cost between $50 and $500 depending on craftsmanship. But in antiquity, these stones traveled across continents, carrying value wherever they went. Culturally, carnelian was more than money. In Mesopotamia, seals carved from carnelian served as signatures of identity and authority. In Egypt, carnelian amulets were buried with the dead, symbolizing vitality and rebirth. Across regions, the stone was linked with the life force of blood and the energy of the sun. These spiritual associations gave carnelian a dual power. It was trusted in trade and revered in ritual. For archaeologists, the ubiquity of carnelian demonstrates how early societies built global economies not only on metals but also on stones imbued with shared meaning. From Harappan bead workshops to Mesopotamian temples, carnelian bridged cultures, making it one of the first truly international currencies. Now let me bring you into this story. Imagine yourself in an Indus Valley marketplace 4,000 years ago, bartering with a strand of carnelian beads for spices or copper. Would you have trusted these fiery stones as a source of wealth? If this idea intrigues you, please let me know in the comments, because it challenges our modern assumptions about what money should be. And here's a closing thought. Carnelian once united civilizations through its beauty and utility. Looking ahead by 2026, which gemstone do you think could play a similar role? Reshaping not only jewelry markets, but also the way we define value itself? Let's discuss it. Rank 1. Lapis Lazuli, The blue stone of power traded as currency in Mesopotamia and Egypt. When it comes to gemstones traded as currency in the ancient world, no stone carried greater weight or mystery than lapis lazuli. For over 6,000 years, this deep blue rock, flecked with golden pyrite, was more than decoration. It was wealth, it was power, and it was money. From the royal courts of Mesopotamia to the temples of Egypt, lapis lazuli became the ultimate unit of value, shaping trade routes and symbolizing authority across empires. Geographically, the world's richest source of lapis lazuli was Badakhshan in present-day Afghanistan. High in remote mountains, miners extracted blocks of brilliant blue stone from veins hidden within treacherous terrain. The difficulty of access meant that every piece of lapis carried extraordinary value. From these mountains, caravans transported lapis across thousands of kilometers to Mesopotamia, Egypt, and later the Mediterranean world. Archaeologists trace this movement through beads, amulets, and carved figurines found in royal tombs far from their source. The methods of extraction were arduous. Miners used primitive tools, stone hammers, chisels, and fire-setting techniques to loosen rock. Transport itself was perilous, with donkeys and camels carrying heavy loads across deserts and mountain passes. The labor and danger involved ensured that lapis was never a common occurrence. By the time it reached urban markets, it was already recognized as a material worthy of kings. In terms of appearance, lapis lazuli is unmistakable. Its intense ultramarine blue contrasted with flecks of gold from pyrite inclusions, resembling stars against a midnight sky. Polished beads glowed with a richness unlike any other stone, and carved seals carried both beauty and authority. In ancient bazaars, strings of lapis beads or carved tablets served as a form of currency, accepted by traders who knew their origin and trusted their worth. Economically, lapis lazuli was the gemstone that linked early global trade. In Mesopotamia, temple records mention lapis as a form of tribute and payment. In Egypt, it adorned the funeral mask of Tutankhamun, proving its association with divine power. Merchants exchanged lapis for gold, silver, ivory, and even enslaved people. Its portability, rarity, and recognition across cultures gave it all the qualities of money, long before coinage existed. Today, fine lapis jewelry may range from $100 to thousands of dollars, but in antiquity, its value cannot be measured in modern terms. It was the gemstone equivalent of bullion. Culturally, lapis carried meanings that reinforced its use as a form of currency. In Mesopotamia, it was sacred to Inanna, goddess of love and war, symbolizing both desire and power. In Egypt, it represented the heavens and was placed in amulets to guide souls in the afterlife. Because lapis embodied divinity and eternity, people trusted it as a safe store of wealth. It was not just beautiful, it was believed to be eternal. For archaeologists, lapis lazuli tells the story of how early civilizations defined wealth and status. Unlike metals that could be forged, lapis retained its identity across cultures. A bead mined in Afghanistan could end up in a Sumerian temple or a pharaoh's tomb, carrying the same value in each context. This consistency made it one of the first truly international currencies. Now here's where I'd like your perspective. Imagine standing in a Mesopotamian marketplace, holding a polished lapis bead that could purchase livestock, textiles, or even land. Would you have trusted a single stone as your fortune? If this challenges your idea of money, let me know in the comments, because it reveals just how flexible human economies have always been. And a final thought to close this journey. Lapis lazuli once rivaled gold as a measure of wealth. By 2026, which gemstone, or perhaps a material we overlook today, do you think could rise to challenge the diamond as our ultimate symbol of value? Let's open that conversation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the gemstones that once served as the world's earliest forms of currency. From markets in the Indus Valley to temples in Egypt, each stone reminded us that wealth was always more than numbers. It was a matter of trust, belief, and survival. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden stories, a simple like and a gentle tap on subscribe will give us the motivation to keep bringing you more journeys here on Gemstone Kingdom. Your support truly helps us continue exploring the secrets locked inside the world of gems. And the story doesn't end here. In our next episode, we'll venture deeper into the realm of mysterious stones, gems so sacred and feared that ancient people believed they were never meant to be traded at all. It will be a chapter of myth, ritual, and discovery you won't want to miss. Once again, thank you for watching, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode.